among the, say, in our construction industry, and also if we are able to tell our teachers that these type of technologies are existing, so they will be able to transfer to their students, and in that way basically this we can make our construction practices much better, and our structures also a durable one, and also we can enhance their say life and all related to so these practices are in fact very useful one, and basically the work you have done, I understand that these should be available to our faculty also to transfer further, and to the industry people also, and I am happy that people, one of the construction industry who will be presenting in the who has presented, who will be presenting, otherwise they are interested in that particular technology. So hopefully that our participants will also get benefited, and so thank you very much for accepting the invitation, and please continue further with your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sanjay Sharma and Professor Amit Goyal for giving this opportunity. And it's my pleasure too, because in this lockdown, these kind of lectures will help us to get activated. So let me start with the presentation. So the title of the presentation, you know, role of coupler in advanced construction practices. A few images has been drawn from a few patents and net sources for academic purpose. You know, generally in RCC construction, latch plies is one of the important concern to be concerned, because without latch plies we can't continue the construction, because latch plies is nothing but integrating two reinforcement bars. There we are providing a certain lap so that we can able to continue the rebars for different heights. We do have in IS 456 and IS 13920, you can see some recommendations for recommendations for lap splices. So because this lap splices should not be exactly in a particular location and recommended in certain locations. The reason is, when we are providing lap splices in a conventional way by lapping two reinforcement bars, this two reinforcement bar will provide you continuity, but it has no physical connectivity. Just lap together, and it has been binded by some steel binding wires. And wherever we are providing laps, we have to go for critical confinement, as you are seeing in the slides. The reason for this particular critical confinement is, you would have studied like bond strength between steel and concrete. Okay, so by considering the bond strength and to improve the performance of the particular point wherever we are providing lap plies, there we are providing closely spaced reps, and which is not recommended exactly near the hinge regions as well as at the joint. The reason is, where the joint is subjected to a large amount of rotation when it's subjected to lateral forces. And wherever we have higher moment, there we should not use lap splices, because those lap splices will not resist that much amount of forces. That's why the image you can see where the lap splice is recommended exactly. There we are having the minimum bending moment. And there are a lot of ways of lap splicing. And importantly, there is a word called staggered, which means all the rebars should not be lap spliced at a particular point. The reason is, if any slips occur, it will affect the performance of your entire structural member behavior. That's why generally whenever we go for lap splices, we should go for staggered lap splices. So the lap splice should not be at the same place. At least 50% of the reinforcement should be staggered. Especially you can see the site conditions. Many of the locations you can easily see that lap splices without any proper guidance, because according to them, lap splice is nothing but just a continuity of rebars, and they are simply continuing the rebars by binding connecting using binding wires. State of spacing are very important, and we have to obey IS code, because effectively we have to use the lap splice. Otherwise, the performance will not be up to the mark. The reason is, you can see there are a lot of AS code recommendations for lap splicing, like all the things. Up to what length we have to go for lap splicing, what length we have to go for confinement, etc. etc. Things are available in the AS code. You can easily refer to this AS code for more details. The reason why I'm telling you about lap splice in this coupler means we got to follow the same procedure when we use couplers. Because coupler is nothing but a coupling device which connects rebars. It's not like our conventional lap splices. It will create a physical contact with each other, and it will give you a perfect continuity in transferring the forces. But still, that is a connected point. That is a connected point which is the weakest point. So we have to follow the standard recommendation as per IS standard. Recommendations for lap splices. We have to follow the same recommendations whenever we using couplers. So the big question: why should I use coupler where I have minimum bending moment? Why should not use couplers in place where we have maximum bending moment? You can see this is a beam column joint. The horizontal portion is the column member, and the vertical member is the beam member. So we have artificially, purposefully created lap splice exactly at the joint hinge region, and it has been tested under with and without laps, confinement and with confinement we have done. And we have tested this under lateral loading, and you can see the hysteresis behavior of that particular joint specimen. Lap in the joint with unconfinement. Next second image of your hysteresis curve says that there is a slip and was not able to dissipate energy. Whereas the first one has certain amount of energy dissipation. Whereas the second one is not having that much amount of energy dissipation. The reason is lap splice is not recommended. We have purposefully done to examine exactly what is the behavioral change we are getting through it. And you can see this is the failure pattern. And the first sample is lap in the joint, as well as the second one is also lap in the joint with unconfined. Exactly here you can see the second image. Failure has not happened exactly at the joint region. Failure has happened exactly away from the joint. And if you look at the failure image very critically, you can see there is a bending in the beam. It says that actually what happened, the lap reinforcement has been slipped from the joint. The lap reinforcement has been split from the joint because the joint is subjected to a large amount of lateral force, but the lapping was not able to transfer the force to the joint, and hence rebar slipped from the connected point, as you are witnessing in the second image. So exactly the failure happened away from the joint. Away from the joint is good for the joint, but we were not able to achieve the desired load carrying capacity because of earlier slippage of reinforcement from the lap region. So this is why lap should not be used exactly at the joint regions, as well as wherever we have bending moments. If you see high bending moment, we should not use that. Let us go into the presentation. So you can see here, this much amount of clumsy reinforcement can be easily witnessed at the site locations when we are going for tall story buildings. Now, mechanical rebar sleeves are of different types. The length of the coupler is not at all going to be equal to the length of lap splices recommended as per IS standard, because coupler's length will always be lesser than the lap splice. That is one of the very big advantage. So if you are reducing the length of your lap splice, we can reduce a closely spaced confinement. So that will be a large amount of savings in terms of time, labor, and reinforcement. So that is one of the very big advantage. And couplers are actually, if you can able to see me, I will explain you because can you see me? Can you see me? Dr. Amit, can you see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now you can see I have one rebar and another rebar. Generally, we are doing lap splice like this. So it is like this. Continuity means it should be like this. It should be like this. Okay, but we are not. We are providing lap splice like this. So under tension, these lap splices will not work. Under bending, the composite action of confinement effect along with the lap will work. That's why we have to provide a lot of confinement exactly wherever we are using lap splices. And you can see at the bottom, I have used a threaded coupler. I will explain you about in detail. Now, this coupler has been connected like this, connected with the end of your rebar, and another end of the rebar is also connected like this. Now you can see the orientation is perfectly vertical, which means it creates continuity in the reinforcement. So it is not like our conventional last splices like this, it is like this. So this is one of the very big advantage of the coupler. You can see the length of the coupler for 16 mm diameter, length of the coupler is less than 60 mm. So we can see a lot of rebar length also in this case. So there are various type of couplers. We are going to look into this, and according to your requirement, we have to choose the coupler. Because if you are going for a new construction, we can choose different type of couplers. If it is existing building, if you are going for retrofitting, then we have to choose certain couplers. Okay, because every coupler has its own limitations and its own purpose. Grouting couplers, mechanical couplers, threading couplers, hybrid couplers are available. So based on the requirement, we have to choose the couplers so that we can able to utilize the efficiency of the coupler to 100%. So this is the first of its kind threaded coupler, one of the cheapest coupler available in the market. And this is nothing but a cylindrical sleeve. You can see me. This is nothing but a cylindrical sleeve having an internal thread. You can see the internal thread. So now the coupling sleeve have thread internally. Now we have to thread the rebars. Thread the rebar ends like this. You can see this is the rebar. The rebar end has been threaded like this. Now, what will happen? One end of the coupler will be connected with the couplers. One end of the rebar will be connected with the coupler. Now, this rebar is connected with the coupler. Now, you can look at me carefully. I'm using this coupler. I'm just rotating this coupler and it has been connected. Now, we want to introduce another reinforcement. I have to place the reinforcement. I have to rotate the rebar. I have to rotate the rebar. Now I can't rotate the coupler because this threaded coupler has its own limitation. So this threaded coupler is perfectly possible, applicable in new construction, not in the retrofitting works or in the existing constructions. In the existing construction, if you want to rotate the rebar, is not possible. No, that's very difficult to rotate. So we have to choose some other couplers. So first, let me briefly discuss about threaded coupler. So now the image you can see internal surface has been threaded. So now the sleeve is ready to connect the rebars. If you have threaded rebars, now you can easily connect. Now the question is how to thread the rebar. That's a very big question. Now you can see the next image. We should not thread the rebar just like this. We should not thread the rebar using the same diameter which is available in the market. Exactly at the end of the rebar, we have to use certain instruments, mechanical instruments, to enlarge the diameter of the rebar. To enlarge the diameter of the rebar, you can see here, the end of the rebar diameter has been enlarged using some mechanical device, and then it has been threaded. So now the diameter of your rebar is uniform throughout the length, even after threading. Suppose if you are eliminating this principle, then what will happen? The threaded diameter will be lesser than the actual rebar diameter. So 20 mm diameter is there, and after threading it becomes 18 mm diameter or 19 mm diameter. So 19 is smaller than 20. So what will happen? That particular point is the weakest point. So yielding will occur at that particular point, and we can't use the actual tensile strength of your rebar because we have designed according to the rebar tensile strength, not as per the connected tensile strength. Okay, so we have to ensure that the rebar diameter is same. And then a lot of different type of threaded couplers are available because let me exactly come to this point. If you see the third image, a rebar is connected and another rebar is connected through the thread. So now, exactly at the midpoint, if you look at me, I'm explaining you in video. Yeah, exactly at the midpoint, both the rebars are not meeting with each other. You can find certain amount of gap. At least we can expect 2 mm or 1 mm gap, at least like this. It is not perfectly connected. Even if it is perfectly connected, it is not at all matter. You will find certain amount of gap. The gap creates a hollow space in the coupler, exactly at the midpoint. So now, you can't say, for example, that outer diameter of the coupler is 16 plus 5 plus 5, 5 mm plus 5 mm, which means 10 mm plus 16, 26 mm. Now, if you find internal gap, internally, if you are finding gap in the mid portion, we are losing 20. We are losing the 16 mm diameter bar, and we have only the outer diameter 5 plus 5. So total I can say it's a 10 mm. 10 mm. So instead of 16 mm, you have only 10 mm exactly at the midpoint with hollow space. So what will happen? Exactly at that particular point, a rupture will occur. So this problem is exists with threaded coupler. So this is called parallel threaded coupler. Both the threads are parallel. That's why it is called as parallel threaded coupler. Now come to this case. Later, what they have done, they have introduced a threaded coupler called tapered threaded coupler. You can see the threading direction. Threading direction is inclined, and exactly at the midpoint of the coupler, there is no any continuity in the coupler. Exactly at the midpoint of the coupler will have a solid steel, solid material. So it is not a through and through coupler. So your tapered threading is getting ended near the midpoint, and the midpoint is completely filled. We are not making any holes through it. So now the demerit of your threaded coupler, parallel threaded coupler, has been addressed by using the tapered threaded coupler. Okay, so now when I'm threading the coupler, I have to make the threaded portion in an inclined way. Then I have to connect the threaded coupler like this. This will solve the purpose. But actually, what is happening? This is the invention made by the inventor. So according to the inventor, we have to make a coupler like this. But even in the market, if you go to find a threaded coupler, you can find the through holes, because it is very difficult for them to measure and it is very difficult for them to thread. So what they are doing, they are making it through. It should not be. Whenever you are going to market, if you are going to procure threaded coupler, always ensure the mid portion should have a solid steel portion. It should not be a through and through coupler. That's very, very important point. Whenever we go to market, we have to ensure about that also. If it has some through holes, we should not procure that coupler. And next one is called the second image you can see here, upset straight threaded coupler, and another one is called the non-upset straight threaded coupler. I told you we should not thread the rebars directly. We have to make a volumetric enlargement at the end, and we have to thread it. The reason is to maintain the coupler, to maintain the rebar diameter. Suppose if you are maintaining the rebar diameter, what is happening exactly? If you can look at me, 16 mm diameter becomes 26 mm diameter exactly at the coupled point. Okay. Suppose if you are using stirrups at this particular point, the stirrup size will also vary. This is 16 mm, so it becomes 26. Just imagine if it is the 32, a 36, or 40, what will happen? So in that circumstance, the coupler diameter will be very large, and the wall thickness will also be very large. In that circumstance, let us say 32 mm bar. 32 mm bar may have at least 15 mm, 10 mm wall thickness in both sides, which means 32 plus 20, around 52 mm diameter exactly at the coupled point. So in order to avoid what they are doing, they are introducing a threading called non-upset. So now you can reduce the diameter of the end portion, threaded portion. That is not recommended, but in some critical cases, we have to maintain the uniformity of coupled portions. So they are introducing such kind of things. And now, when you connect the rebar using threaded coupler, the diameter of the coupler, which is equal to the diameter of your outer diameter of the coupler, is equal to the outer diameter of your rebar. So now it looks like uniform. So this is called non-upset straight threaded coupler. And later, they have introduced many type of threading schemes in this kind of couplers. You can see the third image, how they have introduced the schemes. And I told you, these kind of threaded couplers are not possible exactly in the existing buildings. So in retrofitting work, we can't use. So they have introduced a different type of stepwise threading mechanism. The last you can see will have multiple number of coupling units. to integrate the rebars. This is mainly created to interconnect rebars or new rebars with the existing rebar in the structural element. These are the various type of couplers are invented, and there are many types you can see here. This is called a bolted coupler. Bolted coupler is nothing but you can see the bolted couplers will have a threaded internal surface and will have bolt exactly at the top. And when we tighten the bolt, that will create because internally it is a they used to have some rails. That rail when we tighten the bolt, that bolting will give a certain pressure. That the pressure will apply on the rebar. The rebar will have a wonderful contact with the surface. Now the surface is rubbed or threaded surface or some sleeves already available. So now this will create large amount of friction between these two friction between these two portions. So now there is no need to thread the rebars. No need to thread the rebar. You can use the plane. You can see it. You can see me. So I am using the normal rebar and I am inserting into the coupler and I am tightening this. Just simply tightening the bolt. So this bolt will apply certain amount of pressure. The pressure will create a friction between the threaded surface and the rebar. That will resist the applied tensile force. There are various shapes and sizes and different type of bolting schemes. Now you can see this externally bolted coupler, which is nothing but a two type of half cylindrical shell, and it is connected with external bolting. This is also a coupler. Another image is called as sleeve based, like a coupling sleeve, and it's like we have to use certain of bolt and half sleeves, half shells. After inserting the sleeve, we have to use certain pin to lock it. This is also a kind of mechanical coupler, friction based. These are all friction based couplers because friction plays important role in connecting these couplers, connecting the rebars and transferring the forces. And this is called wedge based coupler, wedge based. So the first one is wedge based. It is not like the coupler which I have discussed earlier. This is equal to the latch splices because it is not providing a connectivity like exactly. It is not creating the continuity. It is parallelly connecting the rebars. After connecting the rebars, there is a wedge. You can see the first image. That the wedge. After fixing the wedge, we have to hammer the wedge. So what will happen? Exactly at the midpoint, exactly at the internally midpoint, the rebar will deform because of wedge actions. So now you can't remove the rebar from the connected portions. This is called wedge type of coupler. Another one is called swaged coupler. In order to use swaged couplers, we should have some hydraulic machine at the locations. So this is nothing but a cylindrical shell. The cylindrical shell will be inserted into the reinforcement. It will be connected together. After completing the connection, the sleeve will be swaged using a hydraulic machine. Okay, that machine will give a compression force still in the circumference. So that will give a perfect confinement to the rebars. This is how this particular connection mechanism works. Without using that particular machine, you can't connect it. It remains a simple cylindrical shell. That's it. There's no other internal thread surface. Nothing is there. It's a simple cylindrical shell. By using the hydraulic grip, we have to apply the force. So it will be connected with the rebars. This is also practice. This is also in practice in India. This is called grouting coupler. In the grouting coupler, basically these kind of couplers are predominantly used in precast constructions and as well as precast bridge piers. Predominantly used in precast bridge piers because this will be very helpful to connect with the existing precast unit with another units. So one end of the precast unit will have a rebar with coupler. Another end of the rebar will be free, so it will be connected. So I will explain you in the later slides. It is one of the grouted coupler. You can see here, it is again a cylindrical shell. Two rebars will be inserted into the coupling device, and then at the top you can find some holes in both sides. And through the holes, they will inject the grout. The midpoint, they have some, again, there is a hole to ensure whether the grouting material passed through the sleeves completely or not. So to ensure that particular flow, they are using the midpoint sleeve, midpoint holes. After completing the grouting, it will be locked. Now your coupler is ready to use. So after completing the grouting, you can use the coupler. You can continue the reinforcements for any other external works. I told you this is a grouting coupler again. It's generally referred as NMV sleeves. So it will not be in uniform shape. It will be in conical shape. You can see the bottom portion have a larger diameter compared to the topmost portion. So this is how they are connecting they are using the coupler in the precast units. So this particular coupler will have a grouting outlet. You can see in the second image. The grouting outlet will be exactly available at the face of your column member or any foundation members. After inserting the precast unit with the existing unit, we have to grout using some grouting pump. Now, this grouting pump will transfer the grout through the hole which is available at the face of your column, and that will fill the coupler completely. So now your coupler is ready to use, because after grouting, the entire grout will transfer the force, and it will resist all the tensile force. It will resist all the tensile force between the connected rebars. And totally, the composite action of the coupler and the grout will take the shear force as well as the flexural force. And in particular, this kind of couplers can be used because you can see they are using near the joint ridges. Generally, it is not advisable as per our standards. But in actual precast constructions, we are using different type of connecting mechanism exactly at the connecting source. For example, if I have a column, if I have a beam, exactly at the joint region, I will propose a connection methodology. Now, beam is a precast unit, column is again a precast unit. These two will be connected together at the joint region, where we are not recommending the lap splice. Where we are not recommending the lap splice, there we have to provide connections using any of this kind of couplers in the precast connections. So, precast construction is completely different than the actual construction procedures. So, we have to ensure the force is perfectly transferred. Force is perfectly transferred to the column element through your coupler. And staggered is also not possible. I have mentioned you that 50% of the reinforcement to be staggered. But when you are using this kind of connection mechanism, we can't go for staggered mechanisms. Again, it's a violation of standards. It's not a violation of standard. This is the connecting mechanism. So, when we develop a certain coupler, both that coupler to be tested under different type of critical condition to ensure the coupler is not failing. It is perfectly transferring the force. It allows the rebar to yield. Coupler position also very, very important. We have to use coupler away from the joint, or exactly at the face of the joint, or inside the element. It should not between the joint. It should not between the joint. Otherwise, your coupler will completely fail. I will discuss about that later. This is called hybrid combination, which means there's a threading option as well as grouting options. So this is also practically possible. It is also available in India. This is called a lengthened interlock, which means that company using this coupler. One end of the coupler has threaded options, so rebar should have a thread. Another end of the coupler having grouting mechanism. So now your rebar is not going to have a thread. You can simply insert the rebar and it can be simply grouted. After fixing the rebar with the grout, it can be grouted. Now you can see how these kind of couplers are used in practices. How these kind of couplers are used in practices. The various different type of couplers has been used. These are the different types of couplers are available in the world. You can see threaded coupler, parallel threaded, taper threaded, swaged coupler, wedge based coupler, and different type of upset and non-upset based, bolting, routing, combination of these two. Now the question is, let us come to the important case, the performance of the coupler. Performance of the coupler after connecting the rebar is very, very important, and that decides the performance of the entire behavior, entire structural behavior. Just imagine. That's why they are the coupler manufacturer as well as the inventor of the coupler recommends certain procedures to be maintained. The reason why they are recommending volumetric enlargement of the rebar at the end before threading is when you are reducing the rebar diameter at the edge. You can see me. Again, if you look at me, I will explain. So now here, what I have done, instead of enlarging the volumetric enlargement at the end portion, I have simply threaded the rebar. Which means the diameter of the rebar becomes less than 19 mm. So this is a 16 mm rebar. This is less than 15 mm. Say I can say it's a 14 mm. Okay, 2 mm has been reduced. Now I am threading this. I have connected this using the threaded coupler, and when I apply the tension force, exactly what happened. You can see this threaded portion has been slipped. You can see here this thread has been slipped from the rebar. The threading has been slipped from the coupled area. You can see at this image also, the presentation also, same failure has been happened. So that's why importance of following the procedure is very important role in deciding the performance of your coupled region. If the coupled region fails, the earlier stage, it won't transfer the force. It is not like a lap splice. Generally, lap splice will not fail like this. It will slip gradually because the lap length is very large. Whenever we are using coupler, the length of the coupler is very small. So here, if you do small mistake, that will lead to some catastrophic failure. So let us come to the structural applications. I told you there are a lot of couplers which are being used in different locations. This is a precast construction units. You can see a bridge pier contains 3 units. A bridge pier contains 3 segmental units, and which is one unit having extended rebars, whereas another unit having hollow cylindrical sleeves. The cylindrical sleeve is nothing but a hollow cylindrical grouting based couplers. Now we have to insert the topmost unit with the bottommost unit. After completing the unit fixing, there is a lot of holes. You can see there are a lot of holes in the precast units. Those holes will be used to grout. So when we grouting this first unit will be integrated with the second unit. So there will be a gap between 2 units. That the gap you can see here. This gap will be again filled with some mortars. It is not through the grout which we are using for grouting coupler. This gap will be filled with another type of mortars at the locations. So these 2 couplers are predominantly used. These 2 couplers have been predominantly used in precast constructions. So we have to test our couplers. Prior, you can see they have used these couplers, and as per our IS code, we have IS code IS 16172. That is a rebar coupler testing standard procedures. We have to ensure we have to follow tensile strength of your couplers, and slip test. We have to ensure we have to test cycle test. We have to perform low cycle fatigue and high cycle fatigue test. Tensile test means we have to connect the coupler. We have to connect the rebar using coupler, and we have to apply tensile force. Second one is slip test. Slip test is nothing but we have to connect the rebar with coupler, and then we have to apply a certain load. Nothing but if you are having a 550 megapascal, if your tensile strength of the coupler is 550 megapascal, means we have to use 60% of the force. We have to use 60% of the force. So before applying the force, we have to measure the gauge length, and after applying the 60% of the FY, then we have to measure the exact gauge length. If you find any difference, for example, the initial gauge length is 0. After applying the 60% of your FY, if my deflection is says 1 mm, then the difference is the slip. Next one is the cyclic test. In cyclic test, we have to follow certain procedure, which means we have to choose some stress range, like it will be varying from 0.2 times of the Fy, 0.4 times of the Fy, 0.6 times of the Fy. Similarly, up to Fy, we have to perform cycle test 100 cycles in each stress range. For example, if I'm using 0.2 times of Fy, I have to perform 100 cycles. 100 cycles. Similarly, I have to perform till Fy. If my specimen is not getting ruptured, then I have to stop at 0.9 Fy and then I have to perform direct tensile strength test to ensure whether rebar is rupturing or coupler is rupturing or my rebar is slipping from coupler. So these are the various type of tests have to be performed whenever we are using coupler. So that standard is available. You can refer the standard for more details. So they have conducted similar kind of testing for this. You can see 3 type of failure. One is your thread has been slipped, so thread is completely failed. Next one is the slipping failure, which means your rebar is slipping from the coupler. The third one is, you can see here, the bar is ruptured. The bar to be ruptured away from the coupled point. Always remember, bar should not be ruptured from the enabled point. Bar should be ruptured away from the coupled point. So they have done different type of cycling tests. You can see the buckling failure and rebar slippage, rebar rupture, coupler itself failed. So these are the various type of failure has been witnessed during this kind of testing by the authors. So this is to ensure my coupler is perfectly transferring the force to the adjacent rebars and my coupler is not failing. But in this case, you can understand different type of failures. So it says that coupler may also fail if you are not following certain procedures. And I told you that the coupler position is important. So one of the study has been conducted by Chris Pantelitis. Foundation and the column. This is the precast unit. They have used couplers. So now coupler away from the joint region and coupler into the joint regions. You can see here. Coupler away from the joint region, coupler into the joint regions. They have used NMB sleeves as well as lengthen interlocks. And they have performed cycle test. You can see here. This is the bottommost portion, is the connected portions. They have performed the cyclic test. With respect to the connections, lot of difference has been observed in the hysteresis behavior as well as the failure. The former cases you can see rebar rupture, rebar rupture, rebar rupture. The later case you can see rebar slip, rebar rupture, rebar buckling. So placement of coupler is very, very important. Apart from the type of coupler, placement of coupler also playing important role in deciding the performance of your specimen. So this is the work done by me and my professor Pankaj Agarwal. We have developed a coupler called the hybrid rebar coupler. It's a combination of threading, bolting, and grouting. So this is the first one image is the control rebar failure. Just a rebar, simple rebar has been tested under tension, and as recommended, there is a neck formation and rebar rupture has been occurred. So the second one case is called the hybrid coupler developed by us has been used. Initially, a small amount of slip has been observed. Later, what happened? The coupler perfectly holds the unit and allows the rebar to yield. You can see the third image, the first point. You can see here. So the exactly at this point, neck formation has been occurred and rebar is ruptured. And the later case, we have improved the coupler for 16 mm diameter, and we observed a rebar slippage. Rebar slippage from the coupler. So even after rebar slippage, you can see I have used Fe500 rebar. We have reached up to nearly 600 megapascal. 600 megapascal, but strain is not that much. The post-yield behavior is not up to that much. So further we have to improve, and we have improved the coupler. And after improvement, we have critically tested these kind of couplers at different locations. For example, exactly if I am using this coupler in the mid portion without stagger, and if I apply load at the midpoint, how the coupler will behave, how the entire performance of the beam will change. Because coupler diameter will be larger than the rebar diameter. So what will be the influence of that? Everything needs to be studied. Otherwise, we can't use the coupler directly, and we can't say, okay, if you go to any coupler company, they will tell you, yes, this coupler has been tested under tension and the rebar rupture has been observed. and coupler has no sign of any failure. Okay, that's fine under tension. If it is under bending, if it is under cyclic load, how it will behave? After incorporating that coupler into the beam column joint or beam or column, how it is going to fail, how it is going to behave, everything need to be studied. So one of our study mainly focused the importance of coupler under bending. So you can see these are the different type of couplers and different type of location has been used, and we have tested under bending. The coupler plays important role in deciding the failure pattern. That was the inference which we have observed after the study. It shows that because of larger diameter of your rebar, so larger diameter of your coupler, that tends the formation of cracks and formation of cracks, and even the fluctually safe beam becomes like exhibits fluctual shear failure. A fluctually safe beam becomes exhibits fluctual shear failure because of the coupler. So that is very, very important. Okay, so coupler diameter plays a very, very important role, and exactly at the end profile is playing abnormally and converting the failure pattern. That's very, very important point, converting the failure pattern. But after testing, it is understood that nowhere rebar has been slipped from the coupler. So rebar is not ruptured, and at the same time it's not slipped from the coupling device. And we have gone up to 50 to 60 mm deflection. It was safe. So it is more than safe, and that can be recommended for the site constructions. But position of coupler, as I have mentioned earlier, position of coupler plays important role. If you are not positioning the coupler at a desired locations, we may expect different type of failure than the expected one. You can see here, these are the different type of failure pattern observed, and exactly I have explained how the coupler converts the failure pattern, how the coupler changes the failure pattern. Because the coupled region stiffness will be larger than the actual stiffness of your rebar, which means the coupled region modulus will be higher than, because the coupled region diameter is very large. Coupled region diameter is very large. So obviously my Young's modulus will be very, very high at this particular point. So that will become very stiff unit. So the nearby rebars will be the flexible unit. So obviously failure will focus at the particular point. So it will deform like this. So we have studied the post stiffness behavior also to ensure whether because of the coupler any stiffness problem as well as any energy dissipation problem, or does it affect the damage index of your define the damage index of your beam. Everything has been studied and finally observed that even after incorporating the coupler at the critical locations, it is not significantly affecting the performance of the beam. And in some cases, it elevates the performance, such as it allows the rebar to yield, and it provides wonderful curvature and improves the damage capacity of your beam. Improves the damage capacity of the beam. So the next one is that at particular hinge locations, we should not use latch splice. That is a recommendation in IS 13920 as 1893. If we use, what will be the criteria? Because in retrofitting, obviously, we have to do the retrofitting exactly at the hinge locations. In such circumstance, what will be the performance? So in order to estimate the performance, we have used coupler exactly at the particular hinge locations, and has been tested under cyclic loading. You can see the hysteresis behavior of the first one is the conventional, second one is the coupled region. So it's identical. It's identical behavior, having no evidence of rebar slippage or coupler failure or anything, nothing. It's wonderfully behaved like the conventional one. So that's why in precast connections, they are using these kind of couplers exactly at the joint regions, as well as wherever we are not recommending latch splice, there we are using coupling. So after the post-failure analysis, we have chipped off the concrete and has been studied the behavior of coupler internally.
Sir?
Yes, it is wonderful. It is rigid.
Okay, sir.
No sign of slippage, and it is perfectly transfers the force to the joint region. So prior to the development of this coupler, we have made a very low-cost coupler. You can see me. I'm currently having a small coupler with me. This coupler we have made using a normal GI pipe with locally available bolting, etc., etc. thing. So this is called a low-cost coupler. Generally, it is not recommended for practical applications. So we have decided to study the performance of this low-cost coupler. Currently currently in India, they are using this technology to increase the height of the building. If your road level is increased and your building level is lower than the road level, then obviously rainwater will come into our house and we will be in trouble. So, in order to avoid catastrophic thing, nowadays we are using certain technologies to increase the height of the building by lifting the building. So, lifting the building, entire building is practically possible. Even if it is RCC, even if it is a masonry structure, lifting arrangement is perfectly possible. You can see here, masonry structure has been, and not only lifting, if you have enough space, it can be moved horizontally. For example, if I have my building in a location at X, I want to move the location to X plus 2. That is also possible. Similarly, Y plus 2 is also possible, X plus 2 is also possible. Okay, and now we have the technology. So lifting is not an impossible thing in India right now. So these are the various type of reinforcement buckling failure has been observed. So if I want to use any technology in retrofitting this kind of area, I have to remove the concrete, replace the buckled reinforcement by new one. I have to go for reinforcement welding and additional RCC jacketing. This is a conventional way of retrofitting a structure. So what we have done, this work is done by one of my former senior, Professor VVS Daddy, has tested some of foundation with column joints for his different purpose, and that joint has been left. So this is similar to the actual failure which we are experiencing during the earthquake. So what we have designed, myself and my Professor Pankaj Agarwal has decided to retrofit this using the low-cost coupler. So now the buckled reinforcement is also available, and the concrete is also crushed exactly near the foundation to column connection regions. So this is the exact behavior at the site. So we have tested this. Now you can see the coupler is not allowing the rebar to yield. The coupler itself is slipping. Since we have used this coupler, let us study what are the influence of this kind of low-cost couplers in load transferring mechanisms. We can see all the 4 columns has been removed from the foundations, and the buckled rebar. We have not replaced the rebars. We have simply straightened the buckled rebar. We haven't replaced the buckled rebar by new one. And then we have introduced the coupler, and we are inserting the column member into the coupled region, and we are using the grouting, and then we are connecting. Thus, we have provided the confinement also. Now, the top post portion is having old concrete. Now we are going to introduce the fresh concrete. We have used welding also for comparison purpose. We have used letterbox shuttering. You can see here. So this letterbox shuttering will avoid. There is a shrinkage problem will happen in between the old and new concrete. That can be easily addressed by using letterbox shuttering. So after so the first one you can see, this is the connected sample. There is no sign of any shrinkage or any gap between the old and new. It is perfectly connected together. Next, because we are using low-cost coupler, what we decided, somehow my coupler may fail. We have predicted earlier that coupler will fail into two pieces. So in order to safeguard that, some elements, we have used different type of FRP wrapping. Because can we use FRP wrapping with low-cost couplers? Yes, we can try. So we have tried low-cost coupler with FRP wrapping exactly at the retrofitted regions. So it has been, this is the conventional sample, and after retrofitting, the first one is retrofitted sample with coupler without any FRP, which failed abruptly in a brittle manner. Whereas the second one, second image tells you that that is called welded. CF3 is a welded sample. It perfectly transfers the force and behaves very ductile way. The third one is again coupled with BFRP having a lesser modulus than CFRP. The next one, the last one is using low-cost coupler with CFRP perfectly transfers the force and exhibits pure ductile behavior. Stiffness behavior is wonderful, energy dissipation is also wonderful, and failure pattern is also wonderful. So this is about a small introduction about the different type of couplers we have used. and I have explained you about the testing also. You can see me because I have done some testing also. I will show that also. So please be here. I'm changing the presentation view. Can you see this document? I think I can see now. I can show you. I can show you. I hope you can see this. Can you see this? So if you look at this image, you can see we have used a threaded coupler exactly in the beam, and I have told you when we use hybrid coupler, the rebar rupture was occurred. There are no any sign of rebar slippage. We have used threaded coupler with improper threading mechanism. That's why I'm telling you improper threading mechanism, because we have to enlarge the volumetric end of your rebar and then we have to thread. Instead, we have directly threaded, because in many of the practical sites they are not following. In important sites they are following. In some locations they are not following the procedures. So simply they are threading and they are connecting using normal threading sleeves. So if you use like this, you can expect this kind of failure. So rebar will slip from the coupled point. So it should not happen. If it happens, then we are experiencing a brittle failure. So prior to using the coupler, we have to ensure that our coupler should be properly tested under tension and cyclic test. At least cyclic test is must. Cyclic test result will be like this. You can see the cyclic test behavior. Yeah, this is how the cyclic test will be. So when we do cyclic performance, you can expect a loop like this. So 100 cycles at each and every different stress level we have to do, so that because if your coupler able to survive during this kind of cyclic force, then coupled region can able to survive during earthquake times. So this is why they are recommending our IS kind of testing procedures to be followed, and to ensure whether coupler is perfectly connecting the things or not. So by this, I thank you all for listening to my presentations. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I will explain. Threaded couplers are very cheap. Threaded couplers are very cheap. You can find for even 100 rupees also, less than 100 rupees also, threaded couplers are available. We have to ensure whether the coupler is made from proper materials. Then we have to use EN8 materials in making the coupler. Instead, if they use MS coupler, it will be very cheap. So quality of the coupler is very, very important. Just imagine 16 mm diameter requires large amount of lap length. Large amount of lap length means we have to provide additional confinement. It takes time and laborious also. When we use coupler, we are not providing lap length, which is equal to a actual lap splice is not at all recommended for coupler. Coupler length is very, very small. So obviously confinement also we are reducing. That will compensate the cost. Yeah, that's why I have told you there are many type of couplers, upset coupler, non-upset couplers. If you use non-upset coupler, the rebar diameter which is equal to the coupler diameter. So your rebar will look like uniform. Your rebar will look like a uniform throughout the length. So in such circumstance, you can use those kind of couplers. Yeah, tell me. Coupler is more. Yeah. No, generally welding is not recommended for left plies. We have to go for binding only, and because welding is recommended only if your rebar diameter is more than 36 mm diameter, then only welding is possible. For the lesser diameter, welding is not recommended. We have to go for only binding only. This is recommended. This is recommended.
Sir,
Yeah. I'm not getting your question. Any?
what type, sir, what type of couplers are mainly preferable for residential building?
Residential building.
Yeah.
Again, for if you're going to construct a new building, you can use threaded coupler because in the new building, reinforcements can be threaded easily, and the threaded couplers are available everywhere. You can go for threaded coupler, but maintain the standard recommendation as per IS because we have to follow staggered procedures, and you should not be lapped exactly at the joint regions as well as the moment where we are expecting large amount of movement. So in residential building also it can be used perfectly. There's no issues.
Okay. So what material injected in grouted coupler?
There are different type of materials. Cement-based grouts are also available. Polymer-based grouts are also available. Epoxy-based grouts are available. So each and every grouting material was designed by individual guys. So it has been patented. So generally, like grouting of NMB sleeve is not applicable for grouting of like lantern interlocks. That grout is not applicable for grouting sleeves. So it's different. With respect to the sleeve, we have to adopt the designed grouting mechanisms defined as well as recommended growth.
So will string compatibility be satisfied at labs using couplers?
See, when we use latch plies, when we use because latch plies will not have a tensile strain also. When you use coupler, which is connecting the rebar and allows the rebar to yield, which is equal to rebar only. It has no need, not much difference.
Okay. Can use of nut bolts in coupler be used for retrofitting?
Threaded coupler is not practically possible for retrofitting. You can use any hybrid coupler or bolted couplers or spaced couplers in retrofitting works.
What factor affect the choice of couplers?
What factor affect the choice of coupler? See, we have to ensure whether the material, the coupler has been made using perfect material. Which means, for example, this coupler, this threaded coupler, made using EN8 material, it is recommended. We have to use EN8 material to manufacture this coupler. If you manufacture the coupler using MS, mild steel, obviously your cost of the coupler will become very small. So the choice is completely based on the material and quality.
And time.
That's why I'm telling you, a coupler cost is a little higher for a higher diameter bars. But just imagine, if you want to go for latch plies, if you want to go for latch plies for 20 just imagine the latch length. If you look at the code, we have to go for LD or 30 times the diameter of the bar. 30 times the diameter of the bar means obviously we have to go for larger length. So that can be easily done. For example, 20 mm means it's a 30 times the diameter of the bar is very large. So if I use coupler, length of the coupler will be lesser than 20 centimeter, 200 mm. Through that we can able to compensate this.
So temperature effects, as the coupler is made up of different material.
Nothing. It's like normal conventional only. Because that's why we are using EN8 material. We are not using mild steel.
How practically bars are attached using couplers? Is there any field test to check the connection?
Yes, we have to ensure if you are using bolted coupler, there is a torque value that has to be maintained. If it is a threaded coupler, physically we have to ensure. If it is a threaded coupler, physically we have to ensure whether it is tightened properly or not. If it is not tightened properly, you can expect a slip failure.
If diameter of bar, if we change, can be used for column?
Yeah, diameter of the bar can also be changed. For example, if you are using 20 mm for ground story, and if you are using 16 mm for first story, that can also be used. I have shown you in the presentation itself. One of the slide contains different sized coupler for different sized rebars.
Okay. Threading cost, etc.
What?
Threading cost.
Threading cost not much. So that's why I told you, if you use threaded coupler cost will be in the range of 50 to 100 rupees, and threading will cost to 10 or 20 rupees. So that threading cost not plays much important role in designing this.
So what about using of couplers in beam column joint?
That's what I told you. If we are using RCC construction, you have to follow the standard codal procedures when we are using this kind of couplers. Whereas in precast connections, there are no alternate options. We have to go for exactly at the joint locations. We have to do the confinement. This coupler. We have to use a coupler exactly at the joint region. That time we have to ensure I have chosen very proper coupler, quality, everything to be ensured. Whether the coupler has been evaluated under cyclic load or fatigue, everything to be evaluated prior to use at the joint regions.
Okay. So whom to contact for the purchase of couplers in North India?
There are n number of companies are available in India right now. You can just Google it by using rebar couplers in India. That will show you n number of companies are available. Because right now in the presentation I can't tell you the name of the companies. You can Google it. It's available.
Okay, one person is asking, sir, the classification of couplers. Is there any code for couplers?
Yeah, code is available 16172. As per Indian standard, we have 16172, 172 2014. Recently launched IS code 16172 is available. There they have clearly defined the type of test required for the couplers, and recommended stress range, everything has been given. You can follow the code.
Sir, some participants. Hello.
Yes, tell me.
So some participants are requesting to share your email ID.
You can Google my name. That will give you everything like KRS Inelastic. Simple. KRS Inelastic @gmail.com. This is my mail ID. You can communicate to me.
Ramya Kotha, sir, please, sir, you can switch on your mic if you want to ask any other question. Ramya Kotha.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I'm working as a junior engineer. So we have been ordered to use couplers in one of our commercial building, but we haven't given any guidelines for the usage and threading extra. As of now, we are using parallel threading, but you mentioned there is a demerit because of that gap.
Yes.
So what you can suggest at this stage?
First question is what type of building it is?
It's a commercial building.
Commercial building. Locates in which seismic zone?
Like seismic zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
Seismic zone 3.
Yeah.
You can use thread coupler, but my recommendation is you can go for parallel. Instead of parallel, you can go for tapered thread coupler.
Tapered one. So there is any machinery available? Like in tapered one also, we need to go for bulging?
I'm not getting a question. In tapered?
In tapered one also, we need to go for bulging, as you said. Like we have to enlarge
if you are threading the rebar, we have to go for volumetric enlargement. Otherwise, you can go for bolting coupler, or hybrid coupler, or swaged coupler.
Okay, what will be the cost?
See,
As of
threaded coupler, parallel threaded coupler is the cheapest coupler in India. If you compare the parallel threaded coupler cost with other couplers, obviously it will be very costly because the length of the coupler will varies, number of bolt, and because the bolt is also not made by Miles, it is from a 10.9 grade unit. So it will be little costlier, but it will ensure proper safety. That must.
Okay, is there any specific machinery available for enlarging?
Yeah, that lot of machines are available. If you approach the threaded company, the couple supplying company, they will tell you the locations to be locations are available at different locations. The threading mechanisms. Otherwise, if you ask some company, the company will come to your location and they will do the threading at the site itself.
Okay, fine, sir. If you don't mind, I'll mail you the details.
Sure. Please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sanjay Srivastava, sir, even your camera is off. So how the selection of coupler differs with seismic zone?
What?
How the selection of coupler differs with seismic zone?
You have to ask the concerned company who is supplying the coupler whether they have performed a cyclic test like this. They have to show you the cyclic behavior of your coupler as well as you have to ask them whether they have performed a cyclic test of your coupler with RC elements. That is must. Prior to choosing the coupler, we have to ensure that the concerned coupler has been tested with the RCC element under cyclic loading or not. If it is tested, if you have wonderful results, then you can use.
Suggestion for zone 4, which coupler should be used?
Again, I'm telling you, any coupler you can use, but it should be properly made. It should be properly tested. If it is, then we can use. According to me, hybrid couplers can be one of the right suggestion for seismic zones. Hybrid combination.
So one more question is there. What is the FY of couplers compares to FY of bars?
Same. Yes, that's why we have tested many things. Couplers are available with different profiles, end profile. We have to choose the right coupler with the right end profile to avoid this kind of cracking behavior. So if your end profile, you can see me, and if your end profile is very rigid like this, very surface is like this, obviously when it bends, it will tend the cracks. If your end profile is like very conical shapes, then it will not get that much amount of cracks. So that can be used. So end profile is must.
Highest. ఇదేనా? ఇది అదేనా?
Hello.
133.
Okay. So, I think I was also attending the session, and I found that the information and the knowledge share was excellent, and we all got benefited by his talk on the use of couplers in for our construction works. And sir, thank you very much for sparing your valuable time for this session. And I hope that because we are having many interactions with you, so in future also we'll be looking forward to interact more with you. And and I hope that all the participants also had got enough knowledge about your this research work, and they will be feeling motivated to try at their ends also to how to basically whether some advanced research is required, or whether whether they want to share this knowledge with their students, and then these things can be included later on in the curriculum also. So that way basically I think this will be a very useful one. So thank you very much once again, and
Welcome, sir. And thank you, Dr. Amit, for inviting me.
yeah. Thank you. I think we will be resembling again at 2:50, and then I think Dr. Grover's lecture will also be very useful one, because there is a because technique being used since old, but very few of us basically are aware of that this type of technology and how to use and where it is being used. So basically that will be also very useful one. So thank you very much.